the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and all the surrounding towns. We have 32 chapters meeting every week, about 550 members, and our goal is to help each other grow our businesses. And our local small business success story this week is Trey Snide with Next Door Radio. Trey is also part of Triangle North Core Group, pretty close to becoming a launched BNI chapter. They meet every Wednesday at 11:30 at the Slammer Speakeasy in Franklinton. So if you're up that way, folks, whether you know it or not, the Triangle is going that way. So there's a
That's
lot
right.
of growth happening. So if you want to get in there in the ground floor, meet some successful business owners and sales professionals, that is a group to come visit. Trey, good morning, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We like to say here in the Granville County area, we're living the dream,
There you
and
go.
it's
Uh,
been a lot of fun. Yes, sir. How are
so
you?
I'm good. So Next Door Radio, you are owner, operator, chief operations manager, probably nighttime janitor at times and weekend. Hey, just call Trey guy, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, we're here in downtown, beautiful Oxford. We cover the kind of the Granville, the really a lot of area, our surrounding area. So it's been a lot of fun, kind of getting from the ground up to where we are now. It's been pretty cool to be a process of for
Mm.
sure.
So people can go to nextdoorradio.com
Mhm.
and they can listen you guys play. Here's what I like. Oh, I like a number of things about what you do, but I'm an 80s guy.
Mhm.
So you play 70s, 80s music, classic rock, beach music, and have local daily talk shows. You carry church services on the weekends, so you have a lot of different types of programming or kind of whoever's looking for what.
Yeah, and the good thing, I'm a big fan of the 70s, 80s as well, of course, the classic rock, and, I grew up in beach music. I'm originally from the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area. My father-in-law is in the Beach Music Hall of Fame, and
Oh,
so,
wow.
that's where it kinda started that aspect of it, and it's been a fun ride, but we wanted to be able to carry, really connect with not just 1 or 2 individuals, but more of a wide variety of it because you're going to be able to isolate a couple, different things if you start focusing on one thing. And so with us, it was able for us to give back to our community as best as I only know how. And that's providing a platform for nonprofits and local business to get their name out. And then what's better than, playing some music throughout the day, but also highlighting the great things about our community. And that's how Nextdoor Radio got started, and that's where we've been now for a little over 2 years. So it's been a fun ride, and we there's a lot more to do and learn and grow, and we're definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I wanna get back to the community here in a second, but your father-in-law is in the Beach Music Hall of Fame?
Yes, sir.
What
Yes,
is
sir.
his name?
Mr. Pat Christie, and even at his wedding that I officiated for, throughout the entire script, I kept saying Mr. Pat, and people, kept laughing the whole time because that's how I, represent him for my time, knowing him for it's been a little over 15 years since I've known him. I knew my wife now, his daughter Jamie, back when I was in high school, and so it just kind of gained that relationship. And she finally, I wore her down enough for her
Yeah.
to say yes. So there's
Now,
that. Yeah,
what
he's been
group
there
what
with the
group is he
Castaways and going on. Yep.
what group is he most connected with?
So he was with the Castaways. He was Generation Four, the Castaways, which is him as a group. He's there for the Beach Music Hall of Fame, and then he went individually with the Fabulous Hot Dog Daddios. So
I
he was the
I
head
don't
singer there.
know them. Are
Yeah,
they good?
no, I thought they were good. He's got a very unique and to me one of the best in beach music voices that because it's genuine. It's not trying to do too much, and he's just a phenomenal singer. He's starting to get back into putting some songs out. He's got one coming up on the new Castaway CD album. Will be released in what 2 weeks. Their new album will be released. So yeah, so it's definitely the Castaways that he got his name for. But I think he started touring back when he was 17 years old, and he was doing some rock and roll, and he's got the Elvis suit and all that good stuff. So he
Wow.
did bring out the kind of the his costumes that now my son can wear. And my wife made fun of him. They said, "How did you fit in with my 5-year-old Pierce? He can fit in one of his jackets that he had at 17 years old." There you go.
Now, I like that, and, I mean, a Hall of Fame is a Hall of Fame. I don't care
Yep.
if it's international or local or regional, so good for him on that. I grew up here, and I enjoyed beach music, so when I would meet people, one guy I remember when I went to I think it was my freshman year in
Mhm.
college, somebody said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Raleigh." And he was from the West Coast. He was from the West Coast of the United States. We were talking about music one day. And I brought up beach music, and he
Mhm.
goes, "Like the Beach Boys." I'm like, "No, no, no.
No, no, no.
That's
That's
West
no, no.
West Coast music. No, that ain't beach music." So I played him some.
That's
He's
right.
like, "Oh, okay."
Hey,
One of the neat things I know you enjoy with your local station, and I say
mhm.
local for the purposes of making the point, is it's because we hear of all these big, huge radio stations, all the big stations all around the country. But for what you do, it is truly grassroots in the community.
It's extra. And so growing up in the Myrtle Beach area, I didn't have that I knew of a local radio station. And I mean, I went to school to, Lee's McRae down in Banner Elk, North Carolina for sports management and business. So I could say you're using some of that, but I didn't really get into the radio scene was since about 15 years ago now, a little bit less than that. And so growing up, if I knew there was a radio station, which now I do because I search for it when I drive through the old Lower, South Carolina and Conway, South Carolina, next to the beach. They have a AM radio station that does just beach music and then mixed in with some local stuff. So um, when I moved to the Raleigh, North Carolina area, when I first moved up from the beach to Raleigh to be with my now wife, um, I wanted to be able to I had a sit home job that I didn't really like. And I think a lot of the success stories for the local businesses starts with, hey, I started here. I didn't really like it. What can I do? What do I love? And so I started a podcast, and doing that, it allowed me to start meeting people in the community. I mean, I never would even thought that I was going to meet the mayor at 15 years ago, but you start getting these relationships and building the camaraderie when it comes to the ins and outs. Of course, there's going to be the bad and there's going to be the kind of things, but you also have great things that happen that people don't or not aware of. And when you start sitting down and videotaping and sitting inside the commissioners meeting and fi- really figure out what they have going on in the community, it's pretty fascinating. And so when I was at the radio station before here with Next Door, uh, I learned how to give back to our community. And during the pandemic, there was back in 2020 when this launched back September 4th of 2020. Um, we received so much information from this area over to the Vance County area. It wasn't funny. I mean, so they were looking for something. And so how do I give back? How do I love this community. My son goes to school here now. I'm part of the rec department with coaching. How could I give back even more? Well, that's it. I love radio. I love talking to people. I love being ins and outs of a few things. And this works in Vance County. Let's move it here. So we kind of started doing little couple things with interviews and things once or times a week, or once or two times a week by way of Zoom or Skype or whatever. And then it got to the point where, all right, I think we can. There's enough to do here solely that we can really do this full time. And once we started the funds coming in and started let us do thinking about it more and a lot of prayer. I mean, let's be honest, there a lot of prayer. But learning from what I did before at the radio station there, and I'll give it to us, WICS 100.1 FM there in Vance County, been there since 1955. My mentor, John Charles Rose, who his dad bought it back in 55, and then he still runs it. He taught me everything I know when it comes to really identifying what the community needs and then getting to the point of uh, doing something about it. And so welcoming our local talk program, our local news, and mixed in with some live DJs. And then my, passion is calling play by play for football, basketball, baseball. And so we do that. And so that's one way for us to be able to give back to the community is to provide a platform for them to come talk on. Again, you're going to get the good, but you're also going to get the bad and the ugly. but that's what, radio is all about, providing a platform for the community to trust, to learn from, to know things or find out things they didn't know about. And so that's where we kind of our grassroots are. And like you mentioned, is of the local talk and allowing us to be able to have this platform where people can go to the one source here locally they can go to. And it's been welcome with open arms since the first 2 years that we've been here. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat.
And are you getting more interest from Wake and Durham counties as you grow?
Oh, absolutely. And the good thing about it, we've teamed up with we'll start here in May with the police department there in Wake County or Wake Forest to be able to um, learn about. So the director that was here in our neck of the woods, she moved over there and she had a show on our network here. And so when she moved there, she started to kind of get the rumblings going over there. So we started doing more of that. And we've got the Franklin County, advertisers. We got the Wake Forest. We've got Youngsville. We've got all the way in Johnston County advertisers already. And so, because like this, when we do podcast and we have it recorded and you can listen back to it. That's what they can do as well. But the good thing about us is not just the podcast. The one time, then you go listen back. You can listen live 24/7. And so it gives this, and with our app available by Google and Apple Store, our little selfish plug there, you can kind of go about and take us anywhere you want to go. So we've got a good connection, really, not only here but in the Vance, and then of course into the Wake County as well.
And your previous background you mentioned a couple times is radio with WIZS. You also did Sports on the Go one in Long Island, New York.
Yeah, yeah,
How's your knowledge of sports and local up there in New York? How did that work? Because you did it from here,
yeah. I did it from
right?
here. I did it from what we're doing right now. We did it but Skype, and so it allowed us to. I did that for 3 years to be in, and so I mean, it was more not just about the New York sport. It was more of the whole kind of situation. So what was going on between Major League and NFL and NBA, and I mean, then we got into he let me do some research when it comes to the more local stuff and the local high schools there in the community. Uh, but it was every Friday night, and so it was from 7 to 10 every Friday night for 3 years, and that was pretty neat to be a part of because that was my first full time situation going on the air for just a sports. I love talking about sports. I love the ins and outs of sports and getting into the history. My number one thing for me is history. I love going into learning about it and then being able to give an accurate description of what's going on. And so that it was tough because one, my wife didn't really like me being on the radio on the air for from 7 to 10 every single Friday night because she wanted to go out and do something. But it's like, we gotta start somewhere. So yeah, it was pretty good. But Mr. Aaron Marks, just still a great friend today. And that's really, going back to him. We talked a little bit about WIZS, but with Aaron Marks with Sports on the Go, he gave me a radio show to be able to learn from. And that's when about the 3 year mark hit. I was like, I think we can do this more. We can do more. So that's when I started my first real podcast. And I'll give you a kind of inside story here. My very first podcast I ever did was terrible. I mean, I didn't even want to listen to myself talk. And with me, every show that I do, or either go on as a guest or a podcast that I'm hosting, I go back and listen to it because I want to be able. All right, what can I do better? Did I ask them a correct question, or did I do this and that, or how can I get better? And I hear a lot of people say, I don't listen back to my podcast. Well, how do you get better if you don't listen to yourself and you're your worst critic? I tell people that all the time. You are going to tell yourself, all right, I can stop saying, I can stop saying, I can, but this and so you're going to be your worst critic when it comes to something like that. And so my advice for anybody that wants to start a podcast, listen to your podcast, go back to it, because if you have a problem, I promise somebody else is going to have a problem with it too. So but yeah, that was pretty cool to be a part of. Mr. Aramarks over there at Sports on the Go got my love for sports going more now. Um, back, good Lord, seems like forever now.
Yeah, because 'cause you're so old, I
I'm
know.
getting
Yeah,
there. I
so old,
feel it
yeah.
every day, my friend.
With all your previous radio jobs and
Mhm.
background, when did a hint of this next door radio format start forming?
3 years ago, and it's the craziest thing. I was talking to my wife the other day. I had a 3-year plan for everything that I did. For work, I wanted to change my job after 3 years. Well, now it's been going on for radio. It's been going on for 10 years now. So, um, but it started where I mean, I don't know if we're allowed to say this, but it started with a bourbon, a cigar, and
Mhm,
I
all
was
good.
sitting outside with my father-in-law, Mr. Pat Christie, and how do I get involved with more of the scene? How do I get involved? And um, after that, we said, all right, what can we do to give back? Like we talked a little bit about before, how do we get back to the community? And after that bourbon and cigar, my wife said, "All right, what are we going to name it?" So I had a piece of sticky note in my office, my studio upstairs, which the terrible internet. So I don't even know why I put it up there. Um, we have terrible internet. We're in our rural area, the neck of the woods. But um, so I the little sticky note, and I saw it just when I was cleaning out my office this past weekend. I saw this little sticky note. So it's funny that we're talking about it now, but it had next door radio written down. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool to kind of see where we are now. Cause one, it's my full-time job, but we didn't really know what it was going to be called at the time. And we didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't have any money coming in. We didn't know anything like that. But I knew if I stared at this going back 3 years ago, if I stared at this sticky note long enough, I was going to do something about it. And I've always been like that. Either, hey, I'm going to go learn how to throw a football. I'm going to learn how to coach baseball or whatever it is. If I stick to it long enough or stare at it long enough, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to figure it out. And I've always been, trained to do that by my father, who had, fast food restaurants for 24 plus years. So, I mean, my first job with him, he threw me on the lines at Bojangles and did on a Sunday afternoon after church. Never looked at the register before in my life. And he said, "You're going to learn it now, or you're never going to learn." And so I did without any training. I started and I had to learn from that. And so that sticky note had next door radio on it. And that was now 3 years ago. And it came to, all right, what can we do with this? What can we take this? We didn't have a logo either. It was just the name. And that's where it really formed. And kind of now where it's at now, starting from, hey, we're just going to cover the Granville, but now we're a lot bigger, across the map. And so that's where it really started. That one sticky note, which is pretty cool.
That I love the
Yeah.
stories of kinda how we got here, and
Mhm.
that's what I enjoy listening to. How many full-time and part-time staff members do you have?
I've got two full time, one myself, and then my outside sales is Kelsey Edwards. She's a beautiful soul. She fits what we need here at Next Door. She works in the community. She works at the local restaurant and things next door to us. But she's my outside sales girl. She does a phenomenal job. And then we have our investors and but really other than that, it's just part time. So it's two full, and then we're going to say about three part time, give or take.
What has been the biggest learning curve for you getting to where you are today with the station?
To be honest, and this sounds very cliche, but it's being consistent. Be consistent with your local talk programs, or having a guest every single day, or and not just re-airing something. Because a lot of times you see where radio stations wants to, all right, we're in a month we're going to re-air this. um we do our best to be able to have a fresh guest every single week, or every single day. Between, for example, every first Tuesday of every month we have our adopt a pet day from the Granville County Animal Shelter. And so we talk about 5 or 6 animals. Either that can be cats. We even talked about a pig. We talked about a snake the other day, which is like, we need to stop this conversation about snakes because I don't do snakes. Um, so it was a that being consistent of getting stuff out between our news, because getting news every day is extremely demanding when it comes to everything else going on with the radio scene and behind the scenes. But then once you start getting consistent with getting lining up, I know my camera's on me, but if you look to my right, there we have a whiteboard on our that is completely full of the guests. We have a guest every single day because I want to be able to provide something new, an organization between a nonprofit or a golf tournament that's coming up for the Granville County Crime Stoppers, or whatever it is. And so being consistent with what you're doing, again, it's your full-time job, because I mean that's what you got to do now. You have to do it or you're not going to eat, and not going to bring money in. So that, to answer your question in long term there, long description, but being consistent rather than repeating yourself and doing the same thing over and over.
Now, in your spare time, which is 7, 8 minutes a day, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
You are also the cross country coach at Crossroads Christian,
That's exactly right.
where I understand you guys are two-time state champion.
That's right. So I ran college track down at Lee's McRae, and I always had a passion for, again, we talked a little bit about more sports and stuff. And I found out that my school that I work with, Crossroad Christian, didn't have a coach. The one runner, he was a seventh grader. He was being coached by your mom. And my son, who was 5, and we're coaching him in baseball now, doesn't listen to me to save my life. I mean, it just is what it is. You're not going to listen to your parents. And so um, when he was a sophomore, excuse me, he was a junior at the time when I took over, and um, we started with him. There's never been a actual team at our school. This was back in 2021 when I took over, and so that was our first year, and of course we've been there now for 2 years, and we started with him. I got the one of my center fielders for my baseball at the time, Mr. Zach Bartholomew, still a great friend till this day. I said, look, I know you hate running, but I need you to run. And look, do it for me. Do it for me. And so we got him to go in, and then we had a basketball guy that turned out to be the number one kid in the state of not only North Carolina, but it turns out he's the number one recruit there in Ohio, who he went to play basketball at this school. Now he's going to be running this year. So he once we started doing that and finally got the team, we ended up with 5 guys that year. And then this past year, we've now grown to 17. So we went from 1
Wow.
to 17 kids in a matter of a year. And the easiest thing to say, now that we start winning, I can just point to the banner and says, "Hey, we got a state championship. Let's go do it again." I don't like being number 2 anymore, because we again look at it. We went into the states this past year at the number 2, and turned out we came back and back-to-back wins and looking for our third. So, but other than that, I mean, you have cross country. We coach my son's baseball team, who we have practice here tonight. Um, the rain has been kicked in
Yeah.
we're supposed to have 4 practices, but the rain has been crazy. It's either snow, it's 45 degrees, then it's 80 degrees, and then we're back to 35. So you never know how it goes here in North Carolina.
The toughest thing about going from the radio station to cross country practice for you is what?
Um, Gosh, toughest thing is, I mean, I have a good relationship with these kids and their parents, which helps a lot because I treat them like they're a part of the family no matter what. The biggest thing is slowing down and getting out there. They ask me to run, but then I tell them no, because I do run with them the last 200 meters of the race because I know I can beat them then. 'Cause we got some good kids. But the hardest part is really slowing down. And I'll tell you an example. Just this past on Easter, we normally I do been hired by a church there in Franklinton, to do video and audio and things like that. And so I come to the radio station at 7 o'clock on Sunday morning, get all my things ready, and then I go there, set up at 9 o'clock, and then we're out at 1 o'clock. So and then we go either start cutting the grass or whatever. Um, well, this Sunday we actually had a day off, which is very hard to say for me because I love working. And my wife always says you got to stop working, you got to quit doing it. I just have a hard time shutting it off. Well, I'm standing inside the living room on before we go to her family's Easter thing, and I'm just kind of staring there and looking around, and still have my church clothes on because we went to sunrise, and I don't know what to do with myself. And so I use that with cross country, that example for cross country, because we've got a game plan. We've got a, outline and say playlist of what we're going to do. And they stick to it when it comes to that, because I don't ask for them to kind of go out and, we're going to run for 3 hours here, because I don't think we're going to get a lot out of it. I said, look, you give me 1 full hour of everything you got, and then we're good. And I don't ask for more than that. And so the camaraderie for us is, hey, I'm going to treat you one like an adult, but I'm going to treat you as a friend as well. And it's come across pretty well for the last, I mean, obviously for the last 2 years. I mean, I can't really be mad at that, 2 state titles in a row, but really the shutting off and not being able to control. I mean, I can control because I'm coaching, but and I'm not. And we have our mile-and-a-half course. The for varsity is 5K. So getting out there and telling them what to do, and then I just kind of, all right, what do I do now? And so, but as I said, I love these guys, and now we got middle school girls and varsity girls coming up here this year as well. So it's the shutting off and getting everything else that I have going on during that day between meetings and getting stuff audio created and playlist created, and just the shutting off is pretty relaxing because it's a beautiful scenery. I mean, we had to go out there, actually had to go cut my own grass to create the course. I mean, we didn't have a course. I mean, so I said, this year, my first year, we're going to host a meet. I promise you that. It might look, and it's a cow pasture. I've tried to get it run with the cows, but they wouldn't let me do it. The school wouldn't let me do it. But we had to really build the course ourselves. And it's just a matter of driving a truck out there, trying to find a course of the best case scenario. And so going out there, and when it's a beautiful 65, 70 day, you're looking on top of a hill and there's nothing but a valley with, cows. And man, it's pretty awesome. So I can kind of take when the wind blows, like, sorry, no, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm happy.
You actually brought up my next question
Mhm.
is, will you be coaching the girls' varsity teams here shortly?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we had two girls, two varsity girls this past year, but you have to have 3 girls to be a team for the 1A classification for the NISA, NI or NCISAA division here. And so we had 2 middle school girls and we had 2 varsity girls. Both of those girls did tremendous. And I'll give you kind of a success story there if we have time. So well, first girl, I knew she could run. I mean, she's probably one of the best pound per pound, best female athlete in the school, and I'm not even stretching and with that statement. She finished fourth in the state, not having run. She ran her freshman year at a different school, but she transferred in for basketball, soccer, and found out we were having a cross country team. She wanted to do it. So she did that. She finished fourth in the state. But the other girl that I want to talk about, she was a cheerleader, or she still is a cheerleader, and that's all she does. And her friend was my number one girl. She said, "All right, I don't want her to be alone. Let's run." So she ran. Her very first 5K for me, which is 3.2 miles, was 36 minutes. I said, "That's not going to work. That's you're just not going to get anything done with that." And so she kept working. She kept working. She kept extending her stride, and she started. I start seeing her conditioning get a little better. She stopped walking during practice, and but every meet, she beat her best time, her PR, by a minute and a half each meet that first year. So we went to the state, and so my first girl finished fourth, and then my second girl finished 12th. Well, you're all state at number 11. She was a minute off the being all state for the very first year, but she beat her PR, and I'm not even kidding you. Her from her very first time, which was 36, she got down to 23. Uh, that's the state meet here this past year, and I was like, see, that's what if you want to do it, if you have the mindset of going out there and doing it, you can do it. And so we've got a girl that's this year, she's already transferred in, she's ready to roll, and she ran at her old school. So she's we'll have our very first female girls cross country team in the history of the school coming up. Even though we've had runners, but this will be the first time ever that we had a team, and I'm pretty excited to kind of see where that goes, because I think if this girl was here last year, we would have won the girls title. That's how good this girl coming in. I mean, I'm not. saying that's all because of me, because it's not. And people ask me all the time, how'd you do it? I said, I didn't do anything. I just told them what to do and they went. They ran. They got better. And so that's where it started. Yeah. We'll have our first girls team here starting in August.
which means in 2024 you'll have your first full track team.
Yeah, look, I've been trying to talk to the athletic director, and the NCISAA is now affiliated with the Track and Field, which is Independent School Athletic Association. It's now affiliated with the Track and Field program, which has never been. It's only now going on 2 years. And I said, by 2024, I want a team. We're going to do it, and I believe we're going to be able to do it. Yep.
I'd like some video of you showing the pole vaulters how to pole vault. That's all
Well,
I
we might have to
ask.
skip
Okay.
some events because I can't do that.
I
No,
know.
I
I,
cannot. I can't. The high jump and the long jump and all that. That's not me. But
yep.
I can teach you how to run. I can teach you how to run.
There you go. So one of my favorite questions for folks on the show that are married, you brought up your wife Jamie in a couple of conversations. I always like to ask, how did you two meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
Yeah. So we met. Actually, I was best friends with her cousin, Kyle. Still a good friend today. But I knew him back when I was in ROTC back at Clayton High School. We were there for the 4 years. I moved in my freshman year, and he was one of the kind of the first five or so people that I met, and we've really got connected. I mean, so our stupid teenagers, we were able to go out there and live it up, and so she was always there at the parties that went to, and stuff like that. And we really never, you know, got together until after I was already out of college. She was out of college. She went to NC State. And I saw her on Facebook when I was me and my one of my good friends that I grew up with at Clayton High School. We were on in Myrtle Beach at the beach itself. And so we were on one side of the pier. I noticed that she was on the other side of the pier,
Mm.
literally directly across the other side of the pier. So we got together, we hung out the rest of the day, and my stubborn self, I didn't want anything to get tied down, and wanted to be a bachelor and single because I'm just out of college. So we were off and on for we're talking about 5+ years before I finally said, all right, I think it's time for us to get together and do what we need to do. And again, I was living at the beach, and so we were traveling back and forth. I mean, that's 3.5 hours one way. And she finally told me, "All right, let's. If you do not move here, we got to end it because I can't keep doing it." Of course, now 9 years later and a 5-year-old, I think I made the right. I
It was,
don't think
yeah.
I know I made the right decision because I wouldn't be here today without her. She's the one that told me to start my very first podcast. She's the one that does what she does and not even going to be afraid to say it. She does what she does so I could do what I do. And so that's where it started. We were on one side of the beach. I liked what I saw on the other side of the beach, and there you go.
And I noticed you had posted a picture of your son
Mhm.
at one of the games you were calling play by play for, and that was one of your goals is to get him involved and bring him along and
Yeah,
kind of
that
play the
was
proud
look,
dad role.
he got really mad at me during that, by the way, because I didn't let him talk enough. And he's 5, and so I said every time we go, he wants to be involved with what I do, and eventually he's going to be able to do a little bit more. But when I first started doing play by play, I said, "This is one. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's fun to be able to not only do it for your local radio station, but it's fun to watch these kids be really excited to hear their name on the radio and their family being able to listen and if they're out of town and things like that. Cause I've done multiple like AAU basketball tournaments. We have, 100 games in one day and you're just tired at the end of it. But once I started getting into play by play and I did it, my very first game was down in Weldon, North Carolina, which was an hour and a half away from where I was. He was going to put the owner of the station was going to put my sports show on the radio station on a Saturday morning. And I said, well, I'll do that. He said, but I can't pay you. I said, well, I guess I'll suck it up for a year. And that's where it started. So when I started doing more of that and finally got into it, I said, this would be really cool if once I have either whatever it is, a child, I would love for him or she to be able to go out there and do it. And so once I had my son, which I was really excited about that because, getting into the sports and doing that kind of stuff, I could be rough with him. We can fight in the living room and have that. Um, I wanted to be able to, sorry, he can go with me. He's going to be able to be able to sit down, relax, and be on a call with me one day because a father and son duo would be the best thing in the world. When my dad goes to me and he runs the video for the semi pro there in Raleigh for the Raleigh Firebirds, he ran the video camera the other day, which was just really cool to be a part of. Um, but that day, he goes to the school that I was calling the basketball for. So it was easy for the transition from him going from after school over to sitting at the broadcast booth with me. Put his headset on. He leans over to me and said, Dad, when can I talk? When can I talk? I said, well, I took my microphone down. I said, just give me a second. I promise I'll get you on. And then I asked him a question on the air. I said, Pete, what do you think of the basketball player? He's at the free throw line. He's doing this. What do you think? He looks at me. What do you want me to say? And so he started, and he's 5. And so he started, it's like, I really like him and this and that. And he sees him in the school all the time. And when I woke up the next day, he said, Dad, I'm really mad at you. I said, why are you mad at me? He goes, because I wanted to talk more. I said, I tried to get you to talk more, but you didn't do it. And so stuff like that, I think with a family and owned and operated radio station, it to me, the more personal that gets, it's better. Because one, I enjoy it more, and then my wife's not stressed at home with watching the kid all day. Because I'm gone. There's times during the week where I'm gone from a Tuesday to Sunday, every single night, with events and stuff like that. So having him there is one, it relieves my wife, but for me, it's kind of the personal side. All right, this is pretty cool because he gets to follow in his dad's footsteps. And so when I saw him on the broadcast sets, I'm starting to tear up now because I'm thinking about it. But with him sitting next to me at that broadcast booth for the very first time, of how happy he was that he gets to sit there with dad, it's a pretty great feeling.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really,
I totally agree with you on that.
yeah.
So how's the wedding DJ business these days?
Busy. Oh my gosh, it's busy. I've got 22 this year. Uh,
Gee.
got 22. I've got 4 this month, and mixed in with 2 regular DJs gigs just this month. And then but I love it. I love being able to that, and of course that's mixed in with the DJing. But also I officiate weddings as well. Sometimes I do both. So it's pretty cool, but it's very very busy. Right now we're starting now, April, and then
Yeah.
going into June. I mean, June's a little slow, but June or April, May is the highlights of the wedding season. Highlights. And so I'm getting booked all the way now to 2024 for the same months.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, it's busy. Oh, yeah, 22 this year.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, one
We-
day we'll sit and chat and maybe do another show. I want to hear
Yeah.
the stories of, ooh, I hadn't seen that at a wedding before.
Oh, I
And
got to
just
go
get,
one. I know I got to go one.
all
Yep.
right, go ahead. Good.
No, so I don't know if this is respectful. So I am a bourbon drinker. We talked a little bit before. I was officiating a wedding down in Virginia at Rosemont Winery. Beautiful scenery. I mean, got the vineyards behind us, and it's got a shelter under it, and or in the little open field. They do a lot of music stuff there. Well, I was the officiant, but I was also the DJ, and so the the bride and groom were really big in their bourbon drinker. He is a bourbon drinker, and he's a or she is a tequila drinker, and that's what they do.
Ooh.
They kind of stuff. And so he built this little platform that if you turn it on both sides, it will go towards you. Um, so he looks at me, and the best man started pouring the shot glasses. He looks directly at me and says, "Pastor, would you like one?" I'm thinking we didn't talk about this before. Thinking to myself, I only have like 10 seconds to respond. Do I not do it? Or I said, screw it, let's just do it. Well, my other side said, all right, let's just do it. And so I said, yeah, I mean, why not? And so right in the middle of the ceremony, they took theirs, I took mine, and the bride or the best man and the bridesmaid all took it at the same time. And but it was some potent some bourbon, which was great. And then the guy that was working with me was running the sound for just the ceremony. He started laughing because I had my little microphone and all that good stuff. And so that's probably one of my favorite stories when it comes to the officiant and the DJing wise, when it comes to that, because it was just really cool to be a part of what their tradition. I mean, I think their family was part of the distillery in years past and things like that. They just love it. And so to be a part of that and be a part of the personal side is what it's all about for me. And of course, meaning we get to tie them in state of North Carolina and of course Virginia with me. I can go anywhere in the world. And so it was pretty cool to be a part of that too.
I'm always interested in the, dinner after the wedding, the reception, the dinner and the reception, and, uh, best man the best man role, I found you have to tell people, A, you're not as funny as you think, B, don't
Yeah,
talk too long, and C, don't mention how many girls he dated before he met
yeah,
his wife.
yeah.
But most best men is like, "Hey, open mic, had a drink. Yeah, it's story time." I'm like, "No, dude, it is not story
Yeah,
time."
I haven't really witnessed that just yet because I think they warn him, before they I don't, but
Good.
they do because again, I think it's funny. I mean, let's be honest, but, I
You
haven't really witnessed the downfalls, "Hey, I'm gonna go try to steal your girl" kinda situation yet. I haven't done that yet.
yeah, I would just love the best way just think
Yeah,
it's, my time to talk, and I'll say whatever
my
I
time
want.
to shine, baby.
And
That's right.
Billy, man, he must have dated 1,000 women, said he was gonna marry every one of them till he met Susie, and, and her dad and mom are probably just wanna shoot him, but I that's my favorite time of a
Yeah.
wedding is just to hear the speeches and who does it right and who doesn't.
You could also be like my brother at my wedding where he was my best man, and he, got I'm not even kidding you, a half of a word out and started crying, and it's, "Alright, let's just raise a glass and let's just go party." And so that was he got a half of a word out. So you can get those best man, which a lot of times they like that better anyway.
Yeah.
But, there's no falling over yourself stories on my end just yet. But it's the night's still young.
No, but you're gonna see a bunch as the wedding DJ. You're probably gonna be able to write a book by the time you retire
That's
with,
right.
do's and don'ts at a wedding
That's
ceremony,
right.
so,
That's right.
so you got 4 counties right now. What's the goal by the end of 2023 and 2024? Some growth plan.
Yeah, so our platform right now is just the digital side. We are an online platform. Again, your online next door neighbor is our slogan. We have our app, but we have our application in for an FM dial. We've got potentially the number, but there's a 6-month process for us that we have to make sure that the FCC approves and things like that. So that's our next step here. We've got some other things worked out in the works, and signing the dots and stuff like that that I can share later on a different episode down the road, possibly here in the next 3 months. But that's the long term, is to be able to have a local radio station that covers the Granville, but over in the Franklin in the surrounding areas, because right now we can go anywhere, but having a place to call home for our local community for an FM, because the generation a lot of time, I met a guy outside that works for the fire department, was outside putting a flyer up and said, "All right, I'm with the radio station here. We'll be happy to support you." And so that's our long term goal when it comes to the FM side of things. I think it allows us to do a lot more than what we're doing in that aspect of it.
And we've been putting, Trey's phone number up here during the show. You can also go to nextdoorradio.com, see how you can help. So if you're in those areas, you've got events coming up, you wanna volunteer for something, you wanna become, more importantly, an advertiser for the
Yeah.
radio station, so, that can grow. Please reach out to Trey. I know, there's tons of stuff going on in small communities that everybody, would love to, learn about, and that just stuff like that just helps grow the communities.
No, absolutely, and, we love being able to get out and do events, and, for example, we were out, this past Saturday, the Jimbo's annual barbecue competition. Of course,
Ooh,
everybody
good.
loves, drinks and, barbecue, and there's over 100 teams. They all 100% of the proceeds went out to, Reese Across America. So that was really cool to be a part of, and we have our mobile stage that we can pull and
Mhm.
set up, and with it being crazy cats and dog weather, where it was just raining galore, it was freezing. We're talking about it was 35 degrees when we all set up and things like that, but we were able to maneuver it enough. And I'm not even going to tell you it was me because I couldn't do it. The guy that was Jimbo is his name that runs the organization. He was able to back it up and put it under the awning, and have the stage under the awning so no speakers or anything got wet. And so that was pretty cool. So I ran the sound for that. Um, but and then I went down to Petersburg, Virginia to go do the basketball games like we do every weekend. So um, that we love being able to be out in the community and giving back because we purchased our stage. So, for example, the government, the city of Oxford or whatever, can not have to pay thousands of dollars to go out and rent something. The one that they have is out of commission. So, and this was after I bought one, they went out. We're talking about like 6 months after I bought mine, theirs went out of commission. I don't know if that's by, on purpose or whatnot, but now they have mine. And so it allows them to not have to spend. And I think a quote that I received from down in Creedmoor, North Carolina for the music fest that they had was like $1,800 per stage. And they had 4 stages. I said, Miss Angie, you're not doing this next year. And I didn't even have the money to do it yet. I said, but you're not going to have to spend this kind of money. That's not right. I don't want you to have to. I can run the sound. I can do this. I can do that. And sure enough, that's where it kind of came from. And it's always a goal and a dream of mine to be able to really do everything possible in my power to give back to my community, because I love it so much. I love it. My son goes here. We live here. And so that's the biggest thing.
Well, good. Trey, enjoyed having you on the show today, learning the stories. I always like to look back. I put a note by each of the shows. And so now I know somebody who's got a father-in-law in a Hall of Fame somewhere.
That's
I thought
right.
that was cool, man.
Yeah.
Can't wait to meet him one day and hear some more stories.
I'm
I
telling
bet
you.
life in that world back in the day was just, man.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
He's told me some good stuff.
Yep.
He's told me some good stuff. Again, not from family radio, but he's a good.
There you go.
He's a good man. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Anyways, Trey, good luck with the station and the growth. We've enjoyed having you on, and we will see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.